The wind carried whispers of her plainness across town, but when Olivia Lawson looked into Isaac Caldwell's eyes that fateful day, she saw something no one else had ever shown her: recognition of the beauty that lay beneath her unassuming exterior. Montana Territory, 1878. The town of Silver Creek was barely a speck on the newest maps, but to its residents, it was the center of their universe. The Lawson family had settled there 5 years prior, when Judge Thomas Lawson accepted the position as the town's justice of the peace. His wife, Martha, and their 2 daughters had followed him from Boston, trading their life of moderate luxury for the rugged promise of the West. Olivia was the younger Lawson daughter, perpetually overshadowed by her sister, Sophia's stunning beauty. At 22, Olivia had resigned herself to spinsterhood, content with her books and helping her father organize his legal documents. Her brown hair was neither glossy nor particularly thick, her face pleasant but unremarkable, her figure slender but lacking the curves that men seemed to admire. What she possessed instead were intelligent hazel eyes that missed nothing, nimble fingers that could mend the finest tear, and a kind heart that felt everything deeply. Sophia, in contrast, had been blessed with their mother's golden beauty, sunshine yellow hair, azure eyes, and a smile that could charm the most hardened outlaw. At 24, she had already declined 3 marriage proposals, waiting for a suitor who could provide the excitement and adventure she craved. It was on a crisp autumn morning when Olivia's world shifted irrevocably. She was walking back from the general store, a basket of supplies balanced on her hip when the commotion erupted. A team of horses had been spooked by something, perhaps a snake, or a sudden gust of wind carrying the scent of a predator, and were charging down the main street, dragging a wagon whose driver had lost control. Olivia froze, her heart hammering as the horses thundered toward her. Time seemed to slow as she registered the terror in the animals' eyes, the helpless shouts of the driver, and the gasps of onlookers. Then something solid collided with her, and she was airborne for a moment before landing roughly in the dirt beside the boardwalk, her basket upended, its contents scattered. A man's body shielded hers as the horses passed, close enough that she could feel the ground tremble beneath their hooves. When the danger had passed, her rescuer lifted himself slightly, his weight still partially covering her. "Are you hurt, miss?" His voice was deep, tinged with concern and the subtle drawl of the South. Olivia blinked up at him, momentarily disoriented. I don't think so." He stood then, extending a hand to help her up. When Olivia was on her feet, she finally got a good look at the man who had saved her. He was tall, with broad shoulders and a lean frame. His face was tanned from long hours under the sun, with a strong jaw shadowed with stubble. But it was his eyes that caught and held her attention, a warm amber that reminded her of honey and sunlight. "Isaac Caldwell, madam," he introduced himself, tipping his hat. "Just rode into town this morning." "Olivia Lawson," she replied, self-consciously brushing the dust from her skirt. "Thank you for your quick thinking, Mr. Caldwell." His smile was warm and reached those remarkable eyes. "Call me Isaac, and it was my pleasure to be of service." By then, a small crowd had gathered, drawn by the commotion. Among them was Sophia, who had been visiting the dressmaker across the street. She rushed to Olivia's side, her golden curls bouncing, her face a picture of concern. "Livy, are you all right? I saw everything from the shop window." Before Olivia could respond, Sophia had turned her dazzling smile on Isaac. "How brave you were, sir. You saved my sister's life." Olivia watched as Isaac acknowledged Sophia with a polite nod, but his eyes returned to Olivia. "Your sister has quite a steady composure, Miss Lawson. Most would have screamed or fainted." Sophia laughed, a musical sound that had charmed many a suitor. "Oh, that's Livy for you, practical to a fault, not a romantic bone in her body." Olivia felt her cheeks warm with embarrassment, but Isaac's gaze remained on her, thoughtful and appraising. "Sometimes practicality is its own kind of poetry," he said quietly, and for a moment it seemed as if he and Olivia were alone on the dusty street, the onlookers faded to shadows. "Mr. Caldwell," Sophia's voice broke the spell, "you must come to dinner tonight. Father will want to thank you properly for saving Olivia." Isaac hesitated, his eyes still on Olivia. "I wouldn't want to impose." "It's no imposition," Olivia found herself saying. We would be honored to have you. He smiled then, a slow spreading of his lips that transformed his face. In that case, I accept. As they parted ways, Olivia helping the shopkeeper gather her scattered purchases, she couldn't shake the peculiar feeling that had settled in her chest. It wasn't just gratitude for being saved, nor was it the common flutter of attraction that Sophia inspired in men. It was something deeper, a recognition perhaps, as if Isaac Caldwell had seen something in her that others, including herself, had missed. That evening, Olivia took more care with her appearance than usual. She chose her best dress, a modest navy blue that her mother always said brought out the gold flecks in her hazel eyes. She pinned her hair up in a simple but elegant style, allowing a few tendrils to frame her face. Looking in the mirror, she knew she would never be a beauty like Sophia, but tonight, for reasons she couldn't fully articulate, she wanted to look her best. Downstairs, her mother was instructing their housekeeper, Mrs. Winters, on the final touches for dinner. Martha Lawson was a formidable woman who had adapted to frontier life with remarkable grace, maintaining Eastern standards of propriety in their Western home. "Ah, Olivia," Martha said, turning as her younger daughter entered the kitchen. "You look lovely, dear, though perhaps a touch of color in your cheeks would not go amiss." She reached out to pinch Olivia's cheeks lightly, a habit from Olivia's childhood that still persisted. "Mother, please," Olivia protested mildly, stepping away. "I'm not a child." "No, but you are still unmarried, and Mr. Caldwell is quite handsome," from what Sophia described. Olivia felt a flicker of irritation. "He's coming to dinner because Father wishes to thank him, not to court me or Sophia." Martha's expression softened. "Of course, dear. I'm merely suggesting that it wouldn't hurt to make an effort." Just then, Sophia swept into the room, resplendent in a pale blue gown that matched her eyes perfectly. Her golden hair was arranged in an elaborate style, adorned with tiny pearl pins. "Sophia, you look beautiful," Martha said, her pride evident. "Like an angel." Sophia twirled, the skirt of her gown flaring out. "Do you think Mr. Caldwell will approve? He's quite dashing, isn't he, Livy?" Before Olivia could respond, the front door opened, signaling the return of their father. Judge Lawson entered the kitchen moments later, his imposing figure softened by his smile. "Something smells wonderful," he declared, kissing his wife on the cheek. "Ah, my beautiful daughters, all dressed up for our guest." "He saved Olivia's life, Father," Sophia reminded him. "The least we can do is look our best." The judge turned to Olivia, his expression growing serious. "Mrs. Cooper told me about the incident. Are you truly unharmed, my dear?" Olivia nodded. "Thanks to Mr. Caldwell, yes. It happened so quickly I barely had time to be frightened." The sound of the doorbell interrupted their conversation. Mrs. Winters hurried to answer it, and moments later, Isaac Caldwell was being shown into the parlor. He had cleaned up for the occasion, his tall frame clothed in a well-worn but clean suit, his dark hair neatly combed. When he saw Olivia, something flickered in his eyes, a warmth that made her heart skip a beat. Judge Lawson stepped forward, extending his hand. "Mr. Caldwell, welcome to our home. I understand I owe you a debt of gratitude for saving my daughter's life today." Isaac shook the judge's hand firmly. "No debt, sir. Anyone would have done the same." "Perhaps, but it was you who acted. Please, sit down. Dinner will be served shortly." As they settled in the parlor for pre-dinner conversation, Olivia observed Isaac covertly. He carried himself with an easy confidence that spoke of a man comfortable in his own skin. When asked about his background, he explained that he had grown up in Georgia but had left after the war, working as a ranch hand in Texas before heading north. "And what brings you to Silver Creek, Mr. Caldwell?" Martha inquired politely. "I've taken a position as foreman at the Circle P Ranch," Isaac replied. "Mr. Peterson is getting on in years and needed someone to oversee the day-to-day operations." "Old Peterson finally admitted he needs help, did he?" Judge Lawson chuckled. "That must have been a bitter pill for him to swallow." Isaac smiled. "He's a proud man, but practical. The ranch is too much for one person to manage." "The Circle P is one of the largest spreads in the territory," Sophia commented. "You must be very skilled to be entrusted with such responsibility." "I've worked cattle most of my life," Isaac said modestly, "and I've learned a thing or two about managing men." Throughout dinner, Olivia noticed that while Isaac was unfailingly polite to everyone, his gaze returned to her with surprising frequency. Whenever their eyes met, she felt a curious warmth spread through her chest. It was disconcerting, this attention from a man, especially when Sophia was present, drawing all eyes as she typically did. After the meal, Judge Lawson invited Isaac to his study for brandy, while the ladies retired to the parlor. As soon as they were alone, Sophia turned to Olivia, her blue eyes sparkling with excitement. "Isn't he wonderful, Livy? So strong and capable, yet gentle too. And those eyes, have you ever seen such a color?" Olivia busied herself with her needlework, not wanting her sister to see the effect Isaac's name had on her. "He seems like a good man." Sophia laughed, dropping onto the settee beside her. "Oh, don't be so reserved. You can admit he's handsome." "Yes, he's handsome," Olivia conceded, her needle dipping in and out of the fabric with practiced precision. "I think he might be the one," Sophia said dreamily. "Can you imagine me, the wife of a ranch foreman? It would be so adventurous." Olivia's hand stilled for a moment. "You've only just met him, Sophia." "Sometimes you just know," her sister insisted. "Besides, did you see how he looked at me during dinner? I think the feeling might be mutual." Olivia resumed her stitching, ignoring the pang in her heart. Of course Isaac would be drawn to Sophia. Everyone was. Why should he be any different? Later, as they were bidding Isaac good night at the door, he turned to Olivia. "Miss Lawson, I understand from your father that you sometimes help at the schoolhouse. I've got a nephew arriving next week to stay with me, and I'd be grateful for any advice on getting him settled with his education." Surprised, Olivia nodded. "Of course, Mr. Caldwell. I'd be happy to help. Perhaps I could call on you tomorrow afternoon, if it's convenient." Beside her, Sophia made a small sound of disappointment, clearly having hoped the invitation would be extended to her. "Yes, that would be fine," Olivia replied, trying to ignore the flutter in her stomach. Isaac smiled, his amber eyes warm in the lamplight. "Until tomorrow, then." As the door closed behind him, Sophia turned to Olivia, her perfect brow furrowed slightly. "Why would he ask you about the school and not me? I help there too." "Once a month for special occasions," Olivia pointed out gently. "I'm there 3 days a week." Sophia waved a dismissive hand. "Still, it's odd. Men usually—" She trailed off, realizing what she had been about to say. "Men usually prefer to speak with you," Olivia finished for her, no bitterness in her tone. It was simply a fact of their lives. As immutable as the seasons. Sophia had the grace to look embarrassed. "I didn't mean it like that, Livy." "I know," Olivia assured her, squeezing her sister's hand. "Now, I think I'll turn in. It's been quite a day." In her room, Olivia sat at her small writing desk, recording the day's events in her journal, as was her habit. She hesitated when she came to describe Isaac Caldwell, her pen hovering over the page. How could she capture the way he had looked at her, not through her, as most men did, but truly at her, as if she were worth seeing? In the end, she wrote only the facts: his name, his occupation, how he had saved her from the runaway horses. But in the privacy of her heart, she stored away the memory of his amber eyes and the curious feeling that, for the first time in her life, someone had seen beyond her plainness to the person beneath. The next day dawned clear and bright, the autumn sun casting a golden glow over Silver Creek. Olivia spent the morning helping her father organize his legal papers, a task she found satisfying in its orderliness. When noon approached, she found herself growing increasingly aware of the passing time. "You seem distracted today, Olivia," Judge Lawson observed, peering at her over his spectacles. "Is something troubling you?" Olivia shook her head. "Not at all, Father. I'm just expecting a visitor this afternoon. Mr. Caldwell is coming to discuss his nephew's schooling." The judge's eyebrows rose slightly. "Is he indeed? Well, that's very proper of him." There was something in her father's tone that made Olivia look up sharply. "What do you mean?" Judge Lawson removed his spectacles, polishing them with his handkerchief. "Nothing, my dear. It's just that in my experience, young men don't usually show such concern for educational matters unless they have other motivations." Olivia felt her cheeks warm. "Father, please." "Mr. Caldwell is simply being responsible about his nephew's welfare." Of course, the judge agreed, a small smile playing at the corners of his mouth. Though, I must say, he asked a great many questions about you during our brandy last night. Before Olivia could respond to this startling revelation, Mrs. Winters appeared at the study door. "Miss Olivia, Mr. Caldwell has arrived. I've shown him to the parlor." Olivia stood, smoothing her skirt nervously. "Thank you, Mrs. Winters. I'll be right there." Her father's voice stopped her as she reached the door. "Olivia." When she turned, his expression was gentle. "You are worth 100 of the pretty butterflies that flit through this town. Never forget that." Touched, Olivia crossed back to place a kiss on her father's cheek. "Thank you, Father." Isaac stood when she entered the parlor, his hat in his hands. He was dressed more casually today in clean work clothes, but he still carried himself with that natural dignity she had noticed before. "Miss Lawson," he greeted her, his voice warm. "Thank you for seeing me." "Please sit down," Olivia invited, taking a seat across from him. "You mentioned your nephew yesterday?" Isaac nodded, settling back in his chair. "Yes, Daniel. He's 12 years old, my sister's boy. She passed away last winter, and he's been living with our aunt in Denver. But she's getting on in years, and a growing boy needs more space than a city apartment can provide." "I'm sorry about your sister," Olivia said sincerely. "It must be difficult for Daniel, losing his mother at such a young age." A shadow passed over Isaac's face. "It has been. His father died in a mining accident when he was just a baby, so Eliza was everything to him. I'm hoping that the open spaces and fresh air of ranch life will help heal his spirit." Olivia found herself moved by the concern in Isaac's voice. "The school here is small but well run. Miss Thompson is an excellent teacher, strict but fair. When is Daniel expected to arrive?" "Next Tuesday on the afternoon stage. I was hoping you might accompany me to meet him. Having a friendly face besides my own might make the transition easier." Surprised but pleased by the request, Olivia nodded. "Of course, I'd be happy to help." "Thank you," Isaac said, his relief evident. "I've never been responsible for a child before. It's more daunting than breaking a wild horse." Olivia laughed. "I imagine so. Children require a different kind of patience." They talked for nearly an hour, their conversation flowing naturally from Daniel's education, to books they had read, to life in Silver Creek compared to the places Isaac had lived. Throughout, Olivia found herself increasingly drawn to his thoughtful observations and quiet humor. "You're not what I expected, Miss Lawson," Isaac said at one point, his amber eyes studying her face. Olivia tilted her head. "And what did you expect?" "I'm not sure," he admitted, "but there's a depth to you that's rare in my experience." Before she could respond to this unexpected compliment, the parlor door opened and Sophia swept in, as radiant as ever, in a rose-colored dress that emphasized her tiny waist. "Mr. Caldwell, I thought I heard your voice. How lovely to see you again." Isaac stood politely. "Miss Sophia, I hope I'm not intruding on your afternoon." "Not at all," Sophia assured him, settling gracefully onto the settee beside Olivia. "What brings you to visit today? Not more runaway horses, I hope?" "Mr. Caldwell's nephew is coming to live with him," Olivia explained. "He wanted advice about the school." Sophia's perfect features arranged themselves into an expression of sympathy. "A nephew! How wonderful for you to take him in." "I do so adore children they find me absolutely enchanting for some reason." Olivia resisted the urge to roll her eyes. Sophia's interaction with children was limited to patting them on the head when they presented her with flowers or compliments. "I'm sure Daniel will adjust well," Olivia said, turning back to Isaac. "Children are remarkably resilient." Isaac nodded, his eyes lingering on her face. "I believe you're right, Miss Lawson." For the next half hour, Sophia dominated the conversation, regaling Isaac with stories of Silver Creek's social scene and peppering him with questions about life on the Circle P ranch. Throughout, Isaac was unfailingly polite, but Olivia noticed that his gaze continued to find its way back to her, even when Sophia was mid-anecdote. When Isaac finally took his leave, he surprised them both by addressing his parting words to Olivia. "I'll call for you next Tuesday at 2 o'clock, if that suits you, Miss Lawson." "Yes, that would be fine," Olivia replied, acutely aware of Sophia's stare. As soon as the door closed behind him, Sophia turned to her, blue eyes wide. "He's calling for you? Why?" To meet his nephew at the stage, Olivia explained, moving to straighten a vase of flowers that didn't need straightening. Daniel might be frightened arriving in a new town. Having a woman present can be comforting to a child. Sophia's perfect bow of a mouth turned down slightly. I could have gone as well. I'm excellent with children. I'm sure you are, Olivia said diplomatically. But Mr. Caldwell asked me specifically because of my connection to the school. Sophia studied her for a long moment, a calculating look replacing her pout. You like him, don't you? Olivia busied herself with the flowers again. He seems like a good man. That's not what I mean, and you know it, Sophia persisted. You're attracted to him. Sophia, please, Olivia sighed. Mr. Caldwell is being neighborly, that's all. Her sister's expression softened unexpectedly. Livy, if you do have feelings for him, it's all right. You deserve happiness too. The sincerity in Sophia's voice caught Olivia off guard. For all her sister's vanity and self-absorption, there was a genuine kindness in her that sometimes shone through. Thank you, Olivia said quietly. But I think you're reading too much into a simple request for help. Sophia didn't look convinced, but she let the matter drop, turning the conversation to the upcoming harvest dance. Yet as they chatted about dresses and decorations, Olivia couldn't help but reflect on her sister's words. Did she have feelings for Isaac Caldwell? It seemed impossible they had only just met. And yet, there was something about him that called to her, a recognition that went beyond mere attraction. It was foolish, she told herself firmly. Men like Isaac didn't fall in love with plain, bookish women when beauties like Sophia were available. The sooner she remembered that, the less likely she was to have her heart broken. The days leading up to Daniel's arrival passed in a blur of routine activities. But Olivia found her thoughts repeatedly drifting to Isaac. She saw him once during that time, at Sunday services, where he sat a few pews behind the Lawson family. After the service, he had approached them, exchanging pleasantries with her parents and Sophia, before turning to Olivia with a warm smile. Tuesday at 2, Miss Lawson, he had reminded her. I appreciate your willingness to help. Now, as Tuesday afternoon arrived, Olivia found herself changing her dress 3 times before settling on a forest green that her mother always said brought out the auburn highlights in her brown hair. She wore her mother's cameo brooch at her throat and pinned her hair in a neat chignon, leaving a few soft curls to frame her face. When Mrs. Winters announced Isaac's arrival, Olivia descended the stairs with as much composure as she could muster. He stood in the entryway, hat in hand, his amber eyes warming visibly when he saw her. Miss Lawson, he greeted her, you look lovely today. Thank you, Mr. Caldwell, she replied, accepting his compliment with a small smile. Are you nervous about meeting Daniel? Terrified, he admitted with a rueful laugh as he helped her into his wagon. What if he hates me on sight? What if he hates Silver Creek? Children rarely hate anything on sight, Olivia assured him as they set off toward the stage depot. They need time to develop a proper aversion. Isaac's laugh was genuine this time, his shoulders relaxing slightly. You have a way of putting things in perspective, Miss Lawson. Olivia, she said impulsively, if we're to be co-conspirators in helping Daniel adjust, perhaps you should call me Olivia. His smile widened. Olivia, he repeated, as if testing the sound of her name on his tongue. Then you must call me Isaac, at least when we're not in formal company. The stage depot was bustling with activity when they arrived. The twice-weekly stage from Denver was due any minute, and several people had gathered to meet arriving passengers or send packages east. As they waited, Isaac confided more about Daniel. He's a bright boy, according to my aunt's letters, loves books, and has a talent for drawing. He's been quiet since Eliza died, though. Withdrawn. Grief affects everyone differently, Olivia said gently. But having a stable home with you, room to run and explore, these things will help. The sound of the approaching stage interrupted their conversation. Moments later, the vehicle came into view, dust billowing behind it as the driver expertly guided the team to a stop in front of the depot. Passengers began to disembark, tired and dusty from the journey. Olivia watched as Isaac scanned the faces anxiously until his expression changed, softening with recognition. A boy stood by the stage, small for his age, with a serious face and dark hair that matched his uncle's. He clutched a battered valise in one hand and a book in the other, his thin shoulders squared as if preparing for battle. Isaac moved forward. "Daniel!" he called, his deep voice carrying across the depot. The boy's head turned, his eyes the same remarkable amber as his uncle's finding Isaac in the crowd. For a moment, he stood frozen, his expression guarded. Then, with visible effort, he approached. "Uncle Isaac," he greeted formally, extending his hand like a little man. Isaac shook it solemnly, then, unable to contain himself, pulled the boy into a brief, fierce hug. "It's good to see you, Danny. The journey wasn't too rough, I hope." Daniel shook his head, his eyes darting to Olivia, who had hung back to give them their moment of reunion. "Daniel, this is Miss Olivia Lawson," Isaac introduced her. "She helps at the school here in Silver Creek and has kindly offered to assist us in getting you settled." Olivia stepped forward with a warm smile. "Hello, Daniel. I'm very pleased to meet you." The boy studied her for a moment before giving a small nod. "Madam?" His voice was soft but clear. "Miss Lawson has agreed to join us for dinner at the hotel," Isaac told him. "Then we'll head out to the ranch. It's about an hour's ride." Daniel's eyes widened slightly. "Is it a big ranch?" "Big enough," Isaac said with a smile. "We run about 500 head of cattle. And there are horses, too. Do you ride?" A shadow crossed the boy's face. "Ma tried to teach me once, but there wasn't much opportunity in Denver." "Well, we'll remedy that," Isaac assured him, placing a gentle hand on his shoulder. "Every cowboy needs to know how to ride." Something flickered in Daniel's eyes, a brief spark of interest that gave Olivia hope. The boy wasn't beyond reaching. He was just buried deep in his grief. Dinner at the Silver Creek Hotel was a quiet affair. Daniel answered questions politely, but volunteered little information of his own. Olivia noticed that he ate methodically, neither rushing nor dawdling, but with a focused attention that spoke of good manners drilled into him by a caring parent. "Daniel," Olivia said during a lull in the conversation, "your uncle tells me you enjoy reading. What kinds of books do you like?" The boy looked up from his plate, surprise flickering across his face at being asked about his preferences. "Adventure stories, mostly, and some history." "Have you read Treasure Island?" Olivia asked. Daniel nodded, a hint of animation entering his expression. "Yes, madam. Ma read it to me last year. It was her favorite, too." Isaac caught Olivia's eye across the table, his expression grateful for her gentle probing. "I have a copy at home," Olivia told Daniel. "Perhaps you'd like to borrow it, and the school has quite a good little library as well." "I'd like that," Daniel said quietly. "Thank you." After dinner, it was time for Olivia to return home while Isaac and Daniel continued to the ranch. As they stood outside the hotel, Isaac turned to her. "Thank you for today," he said sincerely. "You've been a great help already." "It was my pleasure," Olivia replied, looking at Daniel with a smile. "I look forward to seeing you in school soon, Daniel." Miss Thompson will be delighted to have such an avid reader in her class. The boy nodded, his expression still serious, but perhaps a shade less guarded than before. As Isaac helped her into the buggy, he had arranged to take her home. His hand lingered on hers for a moment longer than necessary. "I'll be in town on Saturday for supplies. May I call on you then?" Olivia's heart skipped a beat. "Yes, I'd like that." The smile he gave her then was warm enough to keep her company all the way home, where she found Sophia waiting in the parlor, eager for details about Daniel. "Is he adorable? Poor little orphan," Sophia sighed dramatically. "And how is Mr. Caldwell as a guardian, stern or indulgent?" "Daniel is a serious child, understandably withdrawn after losing his mother," Olivia explained. "And Isaac Mr. Caldwell seems determined to be patient and understanding." Sophia's eyes narrowed at Olivia's slip with Isaac's name. "So it's Isaac now, is it? Things are progressing rapidly." Olivia felt her cheeks warm. "He asked me to call him by his given name. It was a courtesy, nothing more." "If you say so," Sophia replied, clearly unconvinced. "Though I must say, it's odd that he seems more interested in you than in me. Most men can hardly string two words together in my presence." There was no malice in her sister's tone, merely puzzled observation, but the words stung nonetheless. Olivia forced a smile. "Perhaps he's simply more comfortable with me because I'm less dazzling." Sophia laughed. "You make me sound like a blinding light, but I suppose there's some truth to that. Men can be intimidated by beauty. She patted Olivia's hand. "In any case, if he makes you happy, I'm glad." "We're barely acquaintances," Olivia protested, but even as she said it, she knew it wasn't entirely true. Something was growing between her and Isaac. Something tentative but undeniable. Saturday arrived clear and cool, with the scent of pine and wood smoke hanging in the air. Olivia had spent the morning helping her mother preserve the last of the summer vegetables, her thoughts repeatedly drifting to Isaac and when he might arrive. When he did appear, just after the noon meal, he brought Daniel with him. The boy looked less travel-worn now, dressed in clean, practical clothes that were clearly new. His dark hair had been neatly trimmed, and though his expression remained solemn, there was a healthier color in his cheeks. "Miss Lawson," Isaac greeted her, his amber eyes warm as they met hers. "I hope we're not intruding on your afternoon." "Not at all," Olivia assured him, smiling at Daniel. "Hello, Daniel. How are you finding life on the ranch?" The boy hesitated before answering. "It's big, madam, and quiet at night, but Uncle Isaac showed me the horses this morning." "Did he indeed?" Olivia encouraged. "And what did you think of them?" A ghost of a smile flickered across Daniel's face. "There's a pinto mare that Uncle says might be suitable for me to learn on. She's gentle." "That sounds wonderful," Olivia said. "I'm sure you'll be riding like a true cowboy in no time." Isaac watched their interaction with evident approval. "We've come to town for supplies and to pick up that book you mentioned, if the offer still stands." "Of course," Olivia replied. "I'll fetch it right away." When she returned with the book, Daniel accepted it carefully, his fingers tracing the embossed cover. "Thank you, madam. I'll take good care of it." "I know you will," Olivia assured him. "And please, call me Miss Olivia. Madam makes me feel quite ancient." This actually elicited a small smile from the boy, a brief but genuine lifting of the corners of his mouth that transformed his solemn little face. "Miss Olivia," he repeated obediently. "Daniel," Isaac said, "why don't you wait for me on the porch while I speak with Miss Olivia for a moment?" The boy nodded, clutching his book as he headed outside. Once they were alone, Isaac's expression grew more serious. "He's having nightmares," he confided quietly. "Wakes up calling for his mother. I'm not sure what to do for him." Olivia's heart ached for both uncle and nephew, each struggling with their grief in different ways. "Just be there," she advised gently. "Let him know it's all right to miss her, to talk about her. Children often worry that if they stop grieving, they're somehow being disloyal to the person they've lost." Isaac nodded, considering her words. "You have wisdom beyond your years, Olivia." "Not wisdom," she demurred, "just observation. I lost a dear friend when I was about Daniel's age. My parents were well-meaning, but thought it best not to discuss her. It only made the grief more isolating." Without warning, Isaac reached out to take her hand, his calloused fingers warm against her skin. "Thank you," he said simply. "For the book, for the advice, for being kind to Daniel." Olivia's heart fluttered at his touch, but she managed a smile. "He's a lovely boy. I'm happy to help in any way I can." For a moment, they stood in silence, his hand still holding hers, something unspoken passing between them. Then, reluctantly, Isaac released her. "I should go. Daniel and I have errands to complete before we head back to the ranch." "Of course," Olivia said, suddenly aware that they were standing much closer than propriety dictated. She stepped back slightly. "Will you be attending church tomorrow?" "We will," Isaac confirmed. "Daniel needs the routine, and I find I have more to be thankful for lately than I expected when I came to Silver Creek." The way he looked at her as he said this made Olivia's breath catch. There was no mistaking his meaning, nor the warmth in his amber eyes. "Until tomorrow, then," she managed. He tipped his hat, his smile lingering. "Until tomorrow, Olivia." After they left, Olivia stood for a long moment in the parlor, her hand still tingling where he had held it. Something was happening between them, something unexpected and wonderful and terrifying all at once. For the first time in her life, Olivia found herself hoping, truly hoping, that a man might see beyond her plain exterior to the heart that beat within. Sunday morning dawned bright and clear, the kind of autumn day that seemed to glow with inner light. Olivia dressed with particular care, choosing a deep burgundy dress that her mother had ordered from Denver last Christmas. She rarely wore it, feeling somehow that its rich color and elegant cut were better suited to Sophia's golden beauty than her own quiet looks. But today, she wanted to feel pretty. When the Lawson family arrived at the small white church on the edge of town, Olivia's eyes immediately sought out Isaac and Daniel. They were seated near the back, both neatly dressed, Isaac's dark hair slicked back with water, Daniel's cowlick stubbornly resisting similar efforts. Throughout the service, Olivia was acutely aware of Isaac's presence. Once, when the congregation stood to sing a hymn, she glanced back and found his eyes already on her. He smiled, a small, private smile that sent warmth spreading through her chest. After the service, as people gathered on the church steps to socialize, Isaac made his way to the Lawson family. He greeted Judge and Mrs. Lawson respectfully, exchanged pleasantries with Sophia, and then turned to Olivia, his expression softening visibly. "Miss Lawson, you look lovely today," he said, his voice low enough that only she could hear. "Thank you," Olivia replied, feeling a blush rise to her cheeks. "How is Daniel settling in?" "Better each day," Isaac said, glancing to where the boy stood awkwardly at the edge of the crowd. "He started helping with small chores around the ranch. Says he wants to earn his keep." Something in his tone made Olivia ask, "That bothers you?" Isaac sighed. "He's 12. He shouldn't be worrying about earning his keep with family. But I understand it. Work is a way to feel useful, to have some control when everything else is changing." Olivia nodded, touched by his insight. "You're good with him, patient." "I'm trying," Isaac admitted. "It's new territory for me." They were interrupted by Martha Lawson, who approached with a determined smile. "Mr. Caldwell, we would be delighted if you and your nephew would join us for Sunday dinner." Isaac looked momentarily surprised before his manners reasserted themselves. "That's very kind of you, Mrs. Lawson. We would be honored." As they walked the short distance to the Lawson home, Olivia found herself beside Daniel, while Isaac conversed with her parents ahead of them. "How are you liking Treasure Island so far?" she asked the boy. Daniel glanced up at her, his amber eyes so like his uncle's thoughtful. "It's good to read it again. Different, though." "Different?" He nodded solemnly. "Ma used to do voices for all the characters, especially Silver. She was really good at his pirate talk." Olivia smiled, encouraged that he could speak of his mother without shutting down completely. "She sounds wonderful, your mother." "She was," Daniel said simply. Then, after a pause, "Uncle Isaac says you help at the school?" 3 days a week, Olivia confirmed. "I assist Miss Thompson with the younger children's reading and arithmetic." Daniel considered this information. "Will I like the school here?" "I think you might," Olivia said honestly. "It's small, so everyone knows everyone else. That can be good and bad, but Miss Thompson is an excellent teacher, and the children are generally kind." The boy nodded, seemingly satisfied with this assessment. "Uncle Isaac says I'll start next week, once I'm more settled." "We'll look forward to having you," Olivia told him warmly. At the Lawson home, Sunday dinner was a more elaborate affair than weekday meals. Mrs. Winters had prepared a roast with all the trimmings, followed by an apple pie that filled the house with its cinnamon fragrance. Throughout the meal, Olivia noticed that while Sophia made her usual efforts to charm, Isaac's attention remained divided between Daniel's comfort and conversing with Olivia. It was subtle a glance here, a small smile there, but unmistakable. After dinner, when the men retired to the judge's study and Sophia went upstairs to rest, claiming a headache, Olivia and her mother cleared the table together. "Mr. Caldwell seems a fine man," Martha observed, her tone carefully neutral. "Taking in his nephew that way shows character." "Yes, it does," Olivia agreed, focusing on stacking plates to avoid her mother's searching gaze. "And he seems quite attentive to you, Olivia." At this, Olivia looked up, unable to hide her surprise at her mother's directness. "Does he?" Martha's expression softened. "You know he does, dear. A mother notices these things." She paused, arranging silverware with precise movements. "I always worried, you know, that you might not find someone who truly appreciated you." "Mother?" "No, let me finish," Martha insisted gently. "You've always stood in Sophia's shadow, through no fault of your own. But Mr. Caldwell, he sees you, Olivia. I can tell, and that makes me very happy." Olivia felt tears prick at the corners of her eyes, moved by her mother's unexpected understanding. It's early days yet, Mother. We barely know each other. Of course, Martha agreed, patting her daughter's hand. But sometimes the heart recognizes what the mind hasn't caught up to yet. Before Olivia could respond, the study door opened and the men emerged. Daniel looked marginally more relaxed than he had earlier, suggesting that the judge had found some way to put the boy at ease. As Isaac and Daniel prepared to leave, Isaac turned to Olivia. Daniel will be starting school on Monday. Would it be presumptuous to ask if you might be there? A familiar face would make the transition easier for him. I'll be there, Olivia promised, smiling at Daniel, and I'll introduce you to everyone so you won't feel like a stranger. The boy nodded, his expression serious, but with a hint of gratitude in his eyes. Thank you, Miss Olivia. As they said their goodbyes at the door, Isaac's hand briefly touched Olivia's, a fleeting contact that nonetheless sent a current of awareness through her entire body. Until tomorrow, he murmured, his amber eyes warm. Until tomorrow, she echoed, her heart full with something she wasn't quite ready to name. Monday morning found Olivia at the schoolhouse early, helping Miss Thompson prepare for the day. She had mentioned Daniel's arrival, and the teacher, a kind-hearted woman in her 30s, had made special arrangements to ease his transition. A new student is always a cause for excitement, Miss Thompson remarked, as they arranged books and slates, especially one from a city like Denver. The children will have many questions for him. He's still grieving his mother, Olivia cautioned. Quiet and withdrawn, though he's beginning to open up a little. Miss Thompson nodded understanding. We'll be gentle with him then. No unwanted attention. When Isaac arrived with Daniel, the boy was clutching his slate and books with white-knuckled intensity, his face a mask of nervous determination. Olivia's heart went out to him as she crossed the schoolyard to greet them. Good morning, Daniel, she said warmly. Are you ready for your first day? The boy nodded, his amber eyes scanning the other children who were beginning to arrive, their curious gazes already fixing on the newcomer. Miss Thompson has saved a seat for you near her desk, Olivia told him. Would you like me to show you? Daniel looked up at his uncle, who nodded encouragingly. Go ahead, Danny. I'll pick you up after school. I can walk back to town, the boy protested, clearly not wanting to be treated like a baby. Isaac smiled, ruffling his nephew's hair gently. I know you can, but humor me this first day, all right? Daniel relented with a small nod before turning to follow Olivia into the schoolhouse. As they walked, Olivia introduced him to several children, carefully selecting the kinder, more welcoming ones who would make good potential friends. Once Daniel was settled at his desk, Olivia stepped back outside where Isaac waited, his expression a mixture of concern and hope. He'll be fine, she assured him. Children are remarkably adaptable, and Miss Thompson is excellent with newcomers. Isaac nodded, though his eyes remained on the schoolhouse door. I know. It's just, he's been through so much already. And he's surviving, Olivia pointed out gently. That shows strength of character. He's a credit to his mother and to you. At this, Isaac turned to her, his amber eyes warming. Thank you, Olivia. Not just for today, but for all your help with Daniel. Your kindness means more than I can express. The intensity in his gaze made Olivia's heart flutter. It's nothing, truly. It's not nothing, Isaac insisted quietly. Not to me. Not to Daniel. For a moment, they stood in silence, something unspoken passing between them. Then the school bell rang, breaking the spell. I should go, Isaac said reluctantly. I promised Peterson I'd help with the branding today. Of course, Olivia replied. I'll make sure Daniel's all right throughout the day. As Isaac turned to leave, he paused, looking back at her with a smile that made her breath catch. I'm beginning to think Silver Creek is the luckiest turn my life has ever taken. Before she could respond, he was striding away, leaving Olivia with a warmth in her chest that lasted throughout the school day. Daniel's first day went as well as could be expected. He was quiet but attentive, answering questions when called upon, but otherwise keeping to himself. During the lunch break, Olivia noticed him sitting alone under a tree, reading rather than joining the other children's games. She approached him casually, settling beside him on the grass. How are you finding the school so far? Daniel shrugged, his eyes still on his book. It's smaller than my school in Denver. The lessons are different too. Different how? He considered the question seriously. More practical, I guess. In Denver, we studied things that didn't seem to matter much. Here, Miss Thompson was talking about crop rotation and weather patterns. Olivia smiled. Life is different in a farming and ranching community. The education reflects that. Daniel nodded, closing his book. After a moment, he asked, "Were you born here, Miss Olivia?" "No, I was born in Boston," she told him. "My family moved to Silver Creek 5 years ago, when my father was appointed judge for this district." "Do you miss it? Boston?" Olivia thought about the question, touched by the boy's perceptiveness. "Sometimes, I miss the libraries and theaters, the bustle of city life. But there's a different kind of beauty here, a different pace of life that suits me well." Daniel seemed to absorb this, his amber eyes thoughtful. "Uncle Isaac says we're staying here permanently, that the Circle P will be our home now." "How do you feel about that?" Olivia asked gently. The boy was silent for a long moment. "I don't know yet," he admitted finally. "But Uncle Isaac seems happy here, and the horses are nice." Olivia smiled, hearing the tentative acceptance in his voice. "Give it time, Daniel. Home isn't just a place, it's the people who care about you." When Isaac returned to collect Daniel after school, the boy was marginally more animated, describing his day with short but informative sentences, while his uncle listened attentively. Watching them together, Olivia could see the bond forming between them, fragile still, but growing stronger. "Thank you for looking out for him today," Isaac said to her as they walked toward town, Daniel a few steps ahead. "He did very well," Olivia assured him. Miss Thompson was impressed with his reading level and his knowledge of mathematics. Pride flickered across Isaac's face. His mother made sure he had a good education, even when money was tight. She must have been a remarkable woman. She was, Isaac agreed softly. Stubborn as a mule, smart as a whip, and kind to her core. Daniel has her eyes not the color, but the way they see things others miss. The way he spoke of his sister, with love and respect rather than pity, made Olivia's heart warm toward him even more. This was a man who valued women as equals, who saw worth beyond beauty or utility. When they reached the Lawson house, Daniel continued on toward the general store, where Isaac had left their horses, giving the adults a moment alone. "Olivia," Isaac began, his voice low and earnest. "I've been wanting to ask, that is, I was hoping—" He paused, seeming uncharacteristically uncertain. "Yes," Olivia encouraged, her heart beating faster. "The harvest dance is next Saturday," he finally said. "Would you do me the honor of attending with me?" Joy bubbled up in Olivia's chest, but before she could respond, the front door opened and Sophia appeared, resplendent in a pale blue dress that matched her eyes perfectly. "Mr. Caldwell!" she exclaimed, her smile dazzling. "How lovely to see you again. Is Daniel adjusting well to school?" Isaac nodded politely, though Olivia noticed a flicker of frustration cross his face at the interruption. "Yes, Miss Sophia. He had a good first day." "Wonderful." Sophia turned to Olivia. "Livy, Mother needs your help with something in the kitchen. I can entertain Mr. Caldwell until you return." Olivia hesitated, keenly aware that she hadn't answered Isaac's invitation. "I'll only be a moment," she told him, hoping he could read the apology in her eyes. Inside, she found her mother not in the kitchen, but in the parlor, mending a torn tablecloth. "Did you need me, Mother?" Martha looked up, surprised. "No, dear." "Is something wrong?" Understanding dawned on Olivia. Sophia had manufactured the interruption, presumably to have time alone with Isaac. The realization stung more than it should have. "No, nothing's wrong," Olivia assured her mother, turning back toward the door. "Just a misunderstanding." When she returned to the porch, she found Sophia laughing merrily at something Isaac had said, her hand resting lightly on his arm. To his credit, Isaac stepped away as soon as he saw Olivia, his expression clearing. "I should be going," he said. "Daniel is waiting, and we have a long ride back to the ranch." "Of course," Sophia agreed, her smile never faltering. "But you will consider my invitation to dinner on Friday? Mother would be delighted to have you and Daniel join us again." Isaac's eyes met Olivia's briefly before he responded. "That's very kind, Miss Sophia. I'll let you know." As he took his leave, Olivia realized with a sinking heart that she still hadn't answered his invitation to the dance. And now, with Sophia's apparent interest in him, the situation had become uncomfortably complicated. "Isn't he handsome?" Sophia sighed as they watched Isaac walk away. "And so good with his nephew. A man with such a sense of responsibility is quite attractive. Don't you think?" "Yes," Olivia agreed quietly. "He is." Sophia glanced at her, a calculating look in her blue eyes. "You don't mind, do you, Livy, if I set my cap for Mr. Caldwell? After all, you've said yourself that you're not interested in marriage." Had she said that? Perhaps, in a moment of defensive self-preservation, knowing that men generally overlooked her in favor of her beautiful sister. But now, with Isaac's amber eyes haunting her thoughts, Olivia found she minded very much indeed. "Mr. Caldwell is free to court whomever he wishes," she said carefully, unwilling to reveal the depth of her feelings, even to herself. Sophia smiled, satisfied with this non-answer. "Exactly. And he would make such a fine husband, don't you think? Strong, capable, with prospects as the Circle P foreman. Mother would be pleased." Olivia said nothing, her heart too full of conflicting emotions to trust her voice. Instead, she turned and went inside, seeking the solitude of her room, where she could sort through her thoughts without Sophia's knowing eyes upon her. The next few days passed in a blur of routine activities, but Olivia's mind was constantly occupied with thoughts of Isaac and his unanswered invitation. She saw him briefly each day when he brought Daniel to school, but they were never alone, always surrounded by children and parents. On Thursday afternoon, as Olivia was helping Miss Thompson clean the blackboards after school, the teacher made an observation that caught her off guard. "Mr. Caldwell seems quite taken with you," Miss Thompson remarked casually, her eyes kind behind her spectacles. Olivia nearly dropped her eraser. "I'm sure I don't know what you mean." Miss Thompson smiled, a knowing look in her eyes. "Come now, Olivia. I may be unmarried, but I recognize the signs of a man's interest. The way he looks at you when he thinks no one is watching, it's quite telling." Warmth flooded Olivia's cheeks. "We've become friends because of Daniel, that's all." "If you say so," Miss Thompson replied, clearly unconvinced. "Though I must say, it's refreshing to see a man who values substance over show. Your sister is lovely, of course, but you have a depth to you that is far more enduring than mere beauty." Olivia was saved from responding by the arrival of several students who had forgotten their books, but Miss Thompson's words stayed with her throughout the evening. Could it be true? Did Isaac truly see something in her that others overlooked? The possibility was both thrilling and terrifying, and yet there was Sophia, beautiful and charming, clearly setting her sights on him as well. Sophia, who had never been denied anything she truly wanted. Friday evening arrived, and with it, the dinner that Sophia had arranged. Olivia dressed with care in a sage green gown that was one of her favorites, simple but flattering to her slender figure and hazel eyes. She wore her hair in a more elaborate style than usual, with soft curls framing her face. When Isaac and Daniel arrived, Olivia noticed immediately that something had changed in the boy. He stood straighter, seemed more present, his amber eyes taking in his surroundings with genuine interest rather than wary observation. "Daniel has news," Isaac explained as they settled in the parlor before dinner. "Tell them, Danny." The boy ducked his head, a hint of color touching his cheeks. "Miss Thompson says I can move up a grade. She says I'm ahead in my reading and figures." "Daniel, that's wonderful," Olivia exclaimed, genuinely pleased for him. "I told you Miss Thompson would recognize your abilities." "Indeed," Judge Lawson agreed, regarding the boy with approval. "Education is the foundation of a successful life, young man. You do well to take it seriously." Daniel nodded, clearly pleased with the judge's endorsement. "Uncle Isaac says my ma would be proud." "I'm sure she would be," Martha Lawson said kindly. "And speaking of pride, we should celebrate your achievement. Perhaps with an extra slice of apple pie after dinner?" Throughout the meal, Olivia was acutely aware of the subtle battle being waged for Isaac's attention. Sophia was at her most charming, regaling him with amusing anecdotes and asking thoughtful questions about the ranch. Yet Olivia noticed that Isaac's gaze continued to seek hers across the table, his expression warming whenever their eyes met. After dinner, when the ladies withdrew to the parlor while the men enjoyed their brandy, Sophia turned to Olivia with a determined smile. "Mr. Caldwell is taking me to the harvest dance tomorrow," she announced, smoothing her skirts with a satisfied air. He asked me while you were helping Mother with the dessert. Olivia felt as if the floor had dropped away beneath her feet. Oh, she managed, struggling to keep her expression neutral. How nice. Sophia studied her for a moment, a flicker of uncertainty crossing her perfect features. You don't mind, do you, Livy? I know you've been spending time with him because of Daniel, but you've never shown interest in dances before. It was true. Olivia usually avoided such social gatherings, finding them awkward and uncomfortable. Being the plain sister in a crowd that valued beauty was an exercise in invisibility that she had long ago learned to spare herself. Of course I don't mind, she lied, forcing a smile. You and Mr. Caldwell will make a handsome couple. Sophia's expression cleared, her momentary concern replaced by anticipation. We will, won't we? I've asked Mother if I can wear her pearl earrings. They'll complement my new gown perfectly. When the men rejoined them, Olivia found it difficult to meet Isaac's eyes. If he had invited Sophia to the dance, then Miss Thompson had been wrong. He wasn't interested in Olivia after all. Perhaps he had only been kind to her because of Daniel, grateful for her help with his nephew. The thought stung more than she wanted to admit. As the evening drew to a close, Olivia excused herself, claiming a headache. In truth, she couldn't bear to watch Sophia's triumphant smiles any longer, nor Isaac's apparent complicity in them. In her room, she changed into her nightgown and sat at her writing desk, opening her journal. For long minutes she stared at the blank page, unsure how to articulate the hollow ache in her chest. Finally, she wrote a single sentence. I have been a fool to hope. Saturday dawned clear and cool, the perfect weather for the harvest dance. Olivia spent the morning helping her mother with household tasks, deliberately keeping herself too busy to think about the evening ahead. By mid-afternoon, however, there was no escaping the preparations. Sophia was in high spirits, trying on and discarding various hairstyles while their mother offered suggestions. Olivia had just slipped away to the kitchen for a moment of peace when Mrs. Winters announced that there was someone at the door for her. Curious, Olivia went to the front hall, where she found Daniel standing awkwardly, his hat in his hands. Daniel, she greeted him, surprised. Is everything all right? The boy nodded, his amber eyes serious. Uncle Isaac asked me to give you this. He extended a folded note. He said it's important. Olivia took the note, her heart beating faster, despite her best intentions. Thank you. Would you like to come in? I'm sure Mrs. Winters could find you some cookies. Daniel shook his head. No, thank you. Uncle Isaac is waiting for me at the general store. He said I'm to wait for your answer, though. With slightly trembling fingers, Olivia unfolded the note. Isaac's handwriting was strong and clear, much like the man himself. Olivia, I fear there has been a misunderstanding. I did not invite your sister to the dance she invited me, and I was too surprised to refuse outright. My invitation was and remains for you. If you would still do me the honor of accompanying me tonight, I will find a way to resolve the situation with Miss Sophia. Yours, Isaac. Relief and confusion washed over Olivia in equal measure. Isaac hadn't chosen Sophia over her, but now there was an uncomfortable tangle to unravel. Daniel, she said, her decision made, please tell your uncle that I would be honored to accept his invitation, but that we must handle this situation delicately. Ask him to call for me at 6 o'clock, and I will have spoken with my sister by then. The boy nodded, clearly relieved to have completed his mission successfully. Yes, madam, I mean, Miss Olivia. 6 o'clock. After he left, Olivia took a deep breath, steeling herself for the conversation ahead. She found Sophia in her bedroom, holding pearl earrings up to her ears and admiring her reflection. Sophia, she began, closing the door behind her. I need to speak with you about something important. Her sister turned, curiosity in her blue eyes. What is it, Livy? Is something wrong? There's been a misunderstanding about the harvest dance, Olivia said carefully. Mr. Caldwell had already invited me before you spoke with him yesterday. Sophia's perfect features froze in surprise. What? No, that can't be right. He accepted my invitation quite readily. He was being polite, Olivia explained gently. He sent Daniel just now with a note explaining the situation. Sophia's expression shifted from surprise to disbelief to hurt in rapid succession. But why would he prefer you to me? That doesn't make any sense. The words stung, but Olivia kept her composure. I don't know, Sophia, but the fact remains that he asked me first, and I'm going to accept his invitation. For a moment, Sophia simply stared at her, as if seeing her for the first time. Then, to Olivia's surprise, her sister laughed a short, disbelieving sound. Well, Sophia said finally, this is certainly unexpected. The plain sister chosen over the beauty. Father will be amused. Sophia, please, Olivia sighed. This isn't a competition. Isn't it? Sophia retorted, a flash of genuine hurt in her eyes. It's always been that way, Livy. The beautiful sister and the plain one. The roles were clear, comfortable, and now you're changing the rules. Olivia hadn't expected this reaction, not anger exactly, but a kind of bewildered injury, as if Sophia's very identity had been challenged. I'm not changing anything, Olivia said softly. I'm just accepting an invitation from a man I've come to care for. Sophia studied her for a long moment, her expression gradually softening. You really do care for him, don't you? This isn't about competing with me. It never was, Olivia assured her. Isaac Mr. Caldwell has been kind and thoughtful, and yes, I've grown to care for him. After a long pause, Sophia nodded, a small, rueful smile touching her lips. Well then, I suppose I should help you get ready. You can't go to your first harvest dance looking like a schoolmarm. Relief washed over Olivia at this unexpected olive branch. You're not angry? Disappointed, yes, Sophia admitted candidly. My pride is bruised, but angry? No, not with you, Livy. Never with you. She picked up a hairbrush, gesturing for Olivia to sit at the vanity. Now, let's see what we can do with your hair. For the next hour, Sophia worked her magic, arranging Olivia's brown locks in an elegant style that softened her features and brought out the gold flecks in her hazel eyes. She insisted that Olivia wear her burgundy dress. It makes your skin glow, Livy, and even lent her a delicate gold necklace that complemented the gown perfectly. When they were finished, Olivia hardly recognized the woman in the mirror. She looked, not beautiful perhaps, but striking. Her hazel eyes seemed larger, more luminous, her cheekbones more defined, her lips fuller. There, Sophia said with satisfaction. Mr. Caldwell won't know what hit him. Olivia turned to embrace her sister, tears threatening. Thank you, Sophia. This means more than I can say. Sophia returned the hug, her own eyes suspiciously bright. You deserve to be happy, Livy, even if your taste in men is questionable. They both laughed, the tension between them dissolving into the familiar comfort of sisterhood. When Isaac arrived promptly at 6, he stopped short at the sight of Olivia descending the stairs, his amber eyes widening with appreciation. Olivia, he breathed, you look stunning. She felt a blush warm her cheeks. Thank you. Sophia helped me prepare. Isaac glanced to where Sophia stood at the top of the stairs, his expression turning apologetic. Miss Sophia, I must apologize for the misunderstanding. I never intended... Sophia waved a dismissive hand, her smile only slightly forced. No apologies necessary, Mr. Caldwell. It seems my sister has captured your attention fairly. I wish you both a wonderful evening. With that, she retreated to her room, leaving Olivia both grateful for her grace and concerned about her feelings. Is she truly all right? Isaac asked quietly as he helped Olivia with her shawl. She will be, Olivia assured him. Sophia has never lacked for admirers. Her pride is bruised, but her heart is intact. Isaac nodded, visibly relieved. I handled the situation poorly. I should have been clear from the start. We both should have been, Olivia acknowledged as they stepped outside. But we're clear now? He stopped then, turning to face her in the golden light of early evening. Perfectly clear. It's you I want to court, Olivia Lawson. Only you. The sincerity in his voice made her heart swell. And I would very much like to be courted by you, Isaac Caldwell. His smile then was like the sun breaking through clouds, transforming his already handsome face into something truly beautiful. He offered her his arm, and together they walked toward the town hall where the harvest dance was being held. The building had been transformed for the occasion, with autumn leaves and berries adorning the walls, and pumpkins and gourds arranged artfully around the perimeter. A small band played lively tunes, and many of Silver Creek's residents were already dancing or socializing around the refreshment table. As they entered, Olivia was conscious of the curious glances and whispers. It was no secret that Isaac Caldwell had become the most eligible bachelor in town since his arrival, and seeing him with the plain Lawson sister, rather than the beautiful one, was clearly causing a stir. "People are staring," she murmured, feeling self-conscious. Isaac's hand covered hers, where it rested on his arm, warm and reassuring. "Let them. I'm proud to have the most intelligent, kind-hearted woman in Silver Creek on my arm tonight." His words gave her courage, and Olivia lifted her chin slightly, meeting the curious gazes with a calm smile. The evening passed in a happy blur. Isaac proved to be an excellent dancer, guiding Olivia through waltzes and reels with confident ease. Between dances, they talked and laughed, discovering shared interests in books and music, exchanging stories of their childhoods, finding common ground in their experiences of moving west from Eastern origins. During a pause in the dancing, as they stood near an open window, enjoying the cool night air, Isaac's expression grew more serious. "There's something I've been wanting to tell you," he said, his voice low. "About why I left Georgia after the war." Olivia sensed the importance of what he was about to share. "I'm listening." "My family owned a small plantation," he began, his amber eyes troubled with memory. "Not large by Georgia standards, but enough that we had slaves, about 20 people." He paused, gauging her reaction. Olivia nodded, encouraging him to continue. "When the war came, my father and older brother joined the Confederate Army. I was 16, too young to fight at first, though I joined near the end." His expression darkened. "They both died at Gettysburg. By the time I returned home, everything had changed. The slaves were free, the fields untended, my mother struggling to hold things together." "It must have been difficult," Olivia said softly. Isaac nodded. "It was, but that's not why I left. I left because I couldn't reconcile what I'd been taught with what I came to believe, that owning another human being is wrong, no matter how you try to justify it." He looked directly into her eyes. "I needed you to know this about me, Olivia. My family owned slaves. I fought briefly for a cause I came to believe was unjust. I'm not proud of that history, but it's part of who I am." Olivia was moved by his honesty, by the moral courage it had taken for a young man to question the values he'd been raised with. "Thank you for telling me," she said. "It can't have been easy to walk away from everything you knew." "It wasn't," he admitted, "but it was necessary. I couldn't build a life on a foundation I knew to be wrong." Understanding dawned on Olivia. "That's why you're so good with Daniel. You know what it's like to start over, to rebuild a life from scratch." Isaac's expression lightened. "I hadn't thought of it that way, but perhaps you're right. We're both finding our way in a new world, Danny and I." The music started up again. A slow waltz this time. Isaac extended his hand with a smile that made Olivia's heart flutter. "Shall we?" As they moved across the floor, Olivia was conscious of Isaac's hand at her waist, the scent of pine and leather that seemed to cling to him, the warmth in his amber eyes as they met hers. For the first time in her life, she felt truly seen, not as the plain sister, not as the judge's bookish daughter, but as herself, Olivia Lawson, a woman worthy of attention and affection. When the dance ended, Isaac kept hold of her hand. "Would you care to step outside for a moment? The stars are particularly bright tonight." They slipped out a side door onto a small porch that overlooked the town square. The night was crisp and clear, the stars indeed brilliant against the velvet blackness of the sky. In the distance, the silhouette of mountains rose against the horizon, solid and enduring. "It's beautiful," Olivia breathed, tilting her head back to take in the vastness above them. "Yes, it is," Isaac agreed, though when she turned to look at him, she found his eyes not on the stars, but on her face. Her heart began to race as he stepped closer, his expression intent yet gentle. "Olivia," he said softly, "may I kiss you?" Unable to find her voice, she nodded, her lips parting slightly in anticipation. His kiss was everything she had dreamed of, and nothing she could have imagined tender yet passionate, a meeting of souls as much as bodies. His hand came up to cup her cheek, thumb brushing gently across her skin as if she were something precious, something to be cherished. When they finally parted, both slightly breathless, Isaac rested his forehead against hers. "I've been wanting to do that since the day you accepted my dinner invitation," he confessed. Olivia smiled, her heart too full for words. Instead, she reached up to touch his face, tracing the strong line of his jaw with gentle fingers. They stayed like that for a long moment, content in each other's presence, the sounds of the dance muted behind them, the stars their only witnesses. It was Olivia who finally broke the silence. "We should go back inside," she said reluctantly. "People will wonder where we've gone." Isaac nodded, though he stole another quick kiss before offering her his arm. "Miss Lawson, would you do me the honor of saving the last dance for me as well?" "All my dances are yours, Mr. Caldwell," she replied, her smile matching his own. "Tonight and perhaps for many nights to come." As they returned to the warmth and light of the dance, Olivia caught sight of their reflection in a window, the tall, handsome rancher and the plain judge's daughter, their faces alight with shared joy. In that moment, she knew that something extraordinary had begun, something that defied the conventional wisdom about beauty and worth. For in Isaac's eyes, she was not plain at all, but radiant with a beauty that came from within, a beauty that only the right person could truly see. The weeks following the harvest dance were the happiest of Olivia's life. Isaac called at the Lawson home regularly, sometimes with Daniel in tow, sometimes alone. They took walks along Silver Creek, rode out to the Circle P Ranch, where Olivia delighted in seeing how Isaac and Daniel had made the foreman's cabin into a true home, and spent quiet evenings reading together in the Lawson parlor. Daniel continued to flourish under the combined attention of his uncle and Olivia. The solemn, withdrawn boy was gradually giving way to a more animated, curious child who asked questions, made friends at school, and even laughed occasionally, a sound that brought tears to Isaac's eyes the first time he heard it. "You've worked magic with him," Isaac told Olivia, one crisp November afternoon, as they watched Daniel practicing his riding skills in the Circle P corral. "He's becoming the boy he was meant to be." "Not magic," Olivia demurred. "Just patience and understanding. And most of that comes from you, Isaac." He shook his head, his amber eyes warm as they rested on her face. "You underestimate yourself as usual. Your kindness, your gentle guidance. You've given him something I couldn't provide alone." The implication hung in the air between them, that together they made a whole that was greater than its parts, that together they could build something lasting and beautiful. As November deepened toward winter, Isaac's visits to town became more purposeful. Olivia noticed him in deep conversation with her father on several occasions, their discussions ending abruptly when she entered the room. She also caught him examining rings at the jeweler's shop when she passed by one afternoon, though he hadn't seen her. Hope blossomed in her heart, though she tried to temper it with caution. They had known each other barely 3 months. Was it too soon to be thinking of marriage? And yet, in frontier towns like Silver Creek, courtships often progressed quickly, practical considerations hastening the natural course of romance. The first snow of the season fell in early December, transforming Silver Creek into a winter wonderland of white-capped buildings and glistening trees. The Lawson family was preparing for their annual Christmas party, a tradition they had brought with them from Boston and maintained even in the more rustic setting of Montana territory. "Of course, Mr. Caldwell and Daniel must attend," Martha declared as she reviewed the guest list with Olivia. "They're practically family already." Olivia felt a blush warm her cheeks at her mother's knowing look. "I'll be sure to invite them when Isaac brings Daniel to school tomorrow." "See that you do," Martha said with a smile, "and perhaps suggest that Mr. Caldwell might want to speak with your father before the party. There are details that should be settled." "Mother?" Olivia protested, though her heart skipped a beat at the implication. "You're being presumptuous?" Martha patted her daughter's hand. "Not presumptuous, dear. Observant. The way that young man looks at you, well, a mother knows these things." The next day, as promised, Olivia extended the invitation to Isaac and Daniel as they stood outside the schoolhouse. "We would be honored," Isaac said, his amber eyes warm despite the frosty air. "Wouldn't we, Danny?" The boy nodded, his own eyes brightening at the prospect. "Will there be a Christmas tree? We never had one in Denver." "The biggest tree we can fit in our parlor," Olivia assured him, "and you can help decorate it if you like." Daniel's smile was answer enough. and Olivia felt her heart swell with affection for this solemn child who was slowly finding joy again. After Daniel had gone inside, Isaac took Olivia's hand, his expression growing serious. "There's something I wanted to ask you, Olivia." "Yes?" she prompted when he hesitated, her pulse quickening. "Would it be possible for me to speak with your father privately, before the party?" Though she had been half expecting this, the reality of it still sent a thrill through Olivia. "Yes, of course. He's usually home in the afternoons after court. Tomorrow would be a good day." Isaac nodded, relief evident in his face. "Tomorrow, then?" He squeezed her hand gently before releasing it. "Until then, I'll be counting the hours." As he walked away, Olivia hugged herself against the cold, though the warmth spreading through her chest had nothing to do with the temperature. Isaac was going to ask for her hand. The plain sister, the bookish one, the one who had resigned herself to spinsterhood, she was going to be a bride. The following afternoon found Olivia pretending to read in the parlor while straining to hear any sound from her father's study, where Isaac had been closeted with Judge Lawson for nearly half an hour. When the study door finally opened, she quickly buried her nose in her book, affecting an absorption she was far from feeling. Her father's voice reached her first. "Olivia, my dear, would you join us for a moment?" Setting aside her book, Olivia rose and made her way to the study, her heart hammering in her chest. Inside, she found her father seated behind his desk, his expression unreadable, while Isaac stood by the window, his face breaking into a smile when he saw her. "Please, sit down," Judge Lawson invited, gesturing to a chair beside Isaac. Once she was seated, her father cleared his throat. "Mr. Caldwell has asked for my blessing to marry you, Olivia. Before I give my answer, I would like to know your feelings on the matter." Though she had anticipated this moment, the directness of her father's question caught Olivia off guard. She glanced at Isaac, finding his amber eyes fixed on her face, warm with hope and something deeper love. She realized with a jolt of joy. "I would be honored to accept Mr. Caldwell's proposal," she said quietly, her voice steadier than she had expected. "If that is indeed what he is offering." Isaac reached for her hand then, his strong fingers entwining with hers. "It is, Olivia. I love you. I think I have since the day we met, though it took me some time to recognize it." Tears pricked at the corners of Olivia's eyes, but she blinked them away, unwilling to blur her vision of Isaac's beloved face. "I love you too," she whispered. Judge Lawson cleared his throat again, though his eyes were suspiciously bright. "Well then, it seems the matter is settled. You have my blessing, Mr. Caldwell, along with my heartfelt welcome to our family." Isaac stood, extending his hand to the judge. "Thank you, sir. I promise to cherish and protect Olivia for as long as I live." "See that you do," Judge Lawson replied, his grip firm as he shook Isaac's hand. "Now, I believe you two have matters to discuss. I'll leave you to it." When they were alone, Isaac knelt before Olivia's chair, taking both her hands in his. "I had a speech prepared," he admitted with a rueful smile, something eloquent about stars finding each other in the vastness of the sky. "But now that the moment is here, all I can say is that I love you, Olivia Lawson. Will you marry me?" "Yes," she said simply, her heart too full for elaborate declarations. "Yes, I will marry you, Isaac Caldwell." He reached into his pocket, producing a small velvet box. Inside was a ring not ostentatious, but beautifully crafted, a small diamond flanked by 2 sapphires that caught the light as he slipped it onto her finger. "It was my mother's," he explained. "One of the few things I brought with me from Georgia. I've had it sized for you." Olivia admired the ring, touched by the sentiment behind it. "It's beautiful, Isaac. Perfect." He rose then, pulling her gently to her feet and into his arms. His kiss was tender at first, then deepening with a passion that made her dizzy. When they finally broke apart, both breathless, Isaac rested his forehead against hers. "I never expected to find you," he murmured. "When I came to Silver Creek, I was looking for a fresh start, a place to make a home for Daniel. I wasn't looking for love." "Nor was I," Olivia admitted. "I had resigned myself to being the plain sister, the one who would care for my parents in their old age while Sophia married and had children." Isaac pulled back slightly, his amber eyes serious as they met hers. "You've never been plain to me, Olivia. From the first moment I saw you, standing so brave and composed after nearly being trampled. I thought you were the most beautiful woman I'd ever seen." "Not beautiful," she protested mildly. "Not like Sophia." "No," he agreed, surprising her. "Not like your sister. Sophia's beauty is like a perfect rose, lovely to look at, but ultimately common. Yours is rarer, deeper. It's in the kindness of your eyes, the grace of your movements, the intelligence in your conversation." He touched her cheek gently. "It's a beauty that grows more profound with each encounter, not less." Tears welled in Olivia's eyes at his words, at the sincerity with which he spoke them. All her life, she had been defined by what she was not beautiful, not vivacious, not the kind of woman who turned heads. To be seen, truly seen, for what she was rather than what she lacked. It was a gift beyond price. "Thank you," she whispered, turning her face to kiss his palm, "for seeing me." His smile was tender. "Always, my love, always." The Lawson Christmas party was a grand affair by Silver Creek standards. The parlor was festooned with evergreen boughs and red ribbons. The promise tree stood tall in the corner, decorated with paper ornaments and strings of cranberries, and a table groaned under the weight of Martha's best cooking. Word of Olivia and Isaac's engagement had spread quickly through the small town, and the party guests were effusive in their congratulations, if sometimes surprised. Olivia overheard one matron whispering to another, "Who would have thought the plain sister would catch such a handsome man? And before Sophia, too." Rather than stinging, the comment made Olivia smile. Let them wonder. She knew the truth that what she and Isaac shared went far deeper than appearances, that they had recognized in each other a kindred spirit, a matching soul. Daniel, dressed in his Sunday best, with his hair slicked down in a futile attempt to tame his cowlick, was taking his role as future nephew very seriously. He had presented Olivia with a carefully wrapped package earlier in the evening, a drawing of the three of them standing in front of the foreman's cabin at Circle P, rendered with surprising skill for a 12-year-old. "It's for your new home," he had explained, his amber eyes watching her anxiously. "Do you like it?" Olivia had hugged him, touched beyond words. "I love it, Daniel. It's the most perfect gift I've ever received." Now, as the evening wound down and guests began to depart, Olivia found herself standing beside Sophia near the refreshment table. Her sister, stunning as always in a crimson gown that set off her golden beauty, had been gracious throughout the evening, her initial disappointment apparently forgotten. "You look happy, Livy," Sophia observed, her blue eyes softening as she regarded her sister. "Truly happy." "I am," Olivia confirmed, "happier than I ever thought possible." Sophia nodded, a wistful smile touching her perfect lips. "I see it now, you know, what Mr. Caldwell Isaac sees in you, the way you light up when he enters a room, the way you listen when he speaks. It's beautiful to watch." Surprised and touched by her sister's insight, Olivia reached for her hand. "Thank you, Sophia. That means a great deal to me." "I was jealous at first," Sophia admitted candidly. "Not because I had any real attachment to Isaac, but because you were changing the natural order of things. The beauty was supposed to marry first, wasn't she?" There was no bitterness in her tone, only a rueful self-awareness that Olivia had never heard from her sister before. "Perhaps it's time for a new natural order," Olivia suggested gently. "One where we're both free to find happiness in our own ways." Sophia considered this, then nodded. "I think you may be right." She squeezed Olivia's hand before releasing it. "Besides, Mr. Cooper's son returns from law school next month. Father says he's quite promising." Olivia laughed, relieved to hear the familiar note of practical calculation in her sister's voice. Some things, at least, remained unchanged. Across the room, Isaac was deep in conversation with Judge Lawson and several other men, but his eyes sought and found Olivia's, his smile warming visibly when he saw her looking his way. In that moment, surrounded by family and friends, with the man she loved watching her with such open adoration, Olivia felt a happiness so complete it was almost overwhelming. She, Olivia Lawson, the plain sister, had found a love that saw beyond surfaces to the heart beneath. It was a rare gift, and one she would cherish all the days of her life. Spring came early to Silver Creek in 1879, By March, the snow was melting, revealing tender green shoots pushing up through the softening earth. In the Lawson household, preparations for an April wedding were well underway, with Martha directing operations with her usual efficiency. Olivia and Isaac had decided on a simple ceremony in the white church, followed by a celebration at the Circle P Ranch, which had been transformed under their combined efforts. The foreman's cabin had been expanded, a new room added for Daniel, the interior freshly painted and furnished with a mixture of Isaac's practical pieces and some carefully chosen items from Olivia's family home. The day before the wedding, Olivia sat with her mother in her bedroom, surrounded by the belongings she would take to her new home. "Are you nervous, dear?" Martha asked, folding a nightgown with practiced hands. Olivia considered the question honestly. "Not about marrying Isaac," she said, "but about being a wife, a mother to Daniel. Yes, a little." Martha smiled, her eyes wise. "That's natural. Marriage is a leap of faith, even when you're certain of your love for each other." She placed the nightgown in a trunk before sitting beside Olivia on the bed. "You know, when you were born, I was a bit disappointed." Olivia blinked, startled by this unexpected confession. "Disappointed?" "Not in you," Martha hastened to clarify, "but in myself. Sophia had been such a beautiful baby, with her golden curls and blue eyes. And then you came along, so solemn and watchful, with your father's coloring rather than mine. I thought I had somehow failed to produce another beauty." Though the words stung, Olivia remained silent, sensing her mother had more to say. "It was foolish, of course," Martha continued, taking Olivia's hand. "As you grew, I came to see that you had gifts far more valuable than mere beauty. Your intelligence, your kindness, your steady nature, these are qualities that endure, that build a life worth living." She smiled, her eyes bright with unshed tears. "I am so proud of the woman you've become, Olivia, and so grateful that Isaac Caldwell had the wisdom to see what some men miss." Deeply moved, Olivia embraced her mother. "Thank you," she whispered, "for everything." The wedding day dawned clear and mild, as if nature itself approved of the union. Olivia wore a gown of ivory silk, simple but elegant, with her mother's veil and a bouquet of early spring flowers gathered by Daniel from the meadows around the ranch. As she stood at the back of the church on her father's arm, Olivia's eyes found Isaac waiting for her at the altar. He was handsome in his new suit, his dark hair neatly combed, his amber eyes fixed on her with an expression of such love and wonder that it took her breath away. "Ready, my dear?" Judge Lawson asked softly. Olivia nodded, her heart too full for words. As the music began and they started down the aisle, she was conscious of the faces turned toward her friends, neighbors, family, but she saw only Isaac, his smile growing with each step she took toward him. When her father placed her hand in Isaac's, the warmth of his touch steadied her, grounding her in the moment. The minister's words washed over her sacred vows of love and fidelity, promises to cherish and protect, but it was Isaac's voice, strong and clear as he spoke his promises, that brought tears to her eyes. "I, Isaac James Caldwell, take thee, Olivia Grace Lawson, to be my wedded wife." And then it was her turn, her voice surprisingly steady as she pledged herself to him, her eyes never leaving his beloved face. "I now pronounce you man and wife," the minister declared. "You may kiss your bride." Isaac's kiss was tender, reverent, a sealing of their vows before God and community. When they turned to face the congregation, Olivia saw Daniel standing proudly at the front pew, his amber eyes so like his uncle's bright with happiness. Beside him, Sophia dabbed at her eyes with a lace handkerchief, her smile genuine despite the tears. The celebration at Circle P Ranch lasted well into the evening, with food and dancing and laughter under a canopy of stars. As the night deepened, Olivia found herself standing with Isaac on the porch of what was now their home, his arm around her waist as they gazed up at the vast Montana sky. "Happy, Mrs. Caldwell?" he asked, his voice low and intimate in the darkness. "Completely," she assured him, turning in his arms to face him. "And you?" His smile was answer enough, but he gave her words as well. "More than I ever dreamed possible." "You've given me a home, Olivia, not just this place." He gestured to the cabin behind them. "But here?" He placed her hand over his heart. where it matters most. As his lips met hers in a kiss that held all the promise of their future together, Olivia knew with absolute certainty that she had found her place in the world. Not as the plain sister, the bookish daughter, the spinster aunt, but as a woman deeply loved, fully seen, wholly accepted for exactly who she was. And in the end, wasn't that the greatest beauty of all? 5 years later, the Circle P Ranch had prospered under Isaac's management. When old Peterson decided to retire to California, he had offered Isaac the opportunity to buy the ranch, and with Judge Lawson's help securing a loan, they had become the owners of one of the finest spreads in the territory. The foreman's cabin was now a proper ranch house, with rooms added as their family grew. Daniel, now 17 and nearly as tall as his uncle, had blossomed into a thoughtful young man with a talent for working with horses and a determination to attend university in Denver the following year. On a warm June evening, Olivia sat on the porch watching as Isaac played with their 3-year-old daughter, Eliza, named for his sister. The little girl had her father's amber eyes and her mother's quiet temperament, a perfect blend of them both. Their 1-year-old son, Thomas, named for Judge Lawson, was already asleep inside, exhausted from a day of determined crawling. Daniel joined Olivia on the porch, his lanky frame folding into the chair beside hers. Uncle Isaac says Aunt Sophia's letter arrived today. Is she really getting married at last? Olivia smiled, thinking of her beautiful sister, who had finally, at 30, found a man who appreciated not just her golden looks, but her sharp mind and determined spirit. Yes, in September. Mr. Harrington is a widower with 2 young children. Sophia writes that she's looking forward to being a mother. Daniel nodded, watching as Isaac swung Eliza high in the air, her delighted laughter carrying across the yard. She'll be good at it, I think. Aunt Sophia always treated me like a person, not a child. That's high praise indeed, Olivia observed, touched by his assessment. They sat in companionable silence for a moment before Daniel spoke again, his voice thoughtful. I was remembering today, when I first came here, how scared I was, how angry at the world for taking Ma away. Olivia reached out to squeeze his hand briefly. You had every reason to be. Maybe, he acknowledged, but you and Uncle Isaac, you didn't try to replace her. You just made space for me to heal, to become part of something new without forgetting what came before. He turned to look at her directly, his amber eyes serious. I never thanked you for that, Aunt Olivia, for seeing what I needed even when I didn't know myself. Tears pricked at Olivia's eyes, but she blinked them away, deeply moved by the young man's words. You're family, Daniel. You always will be. No matter where life takes you. He nodded, understanding passing between them without need for further words. Isaac approached then, carrying a sleepy Eliza, who had finally exhausted her energy. I think someone is ready for bed, he announced, smiling down at his daughter's drooping eyes. I'll take her, Daniel offered, standing to receive his cousin. I promised her a story earlier. As he carried Eliza inside, Isaac settled into the chair beside Olivia, reaching for her hand with the easy familiarity of long love. He's going to make an excellent lawyer someday, he remarked. He has your gift for seeing to the heart of things. Our gift, Olivia corrected gently. He learned as much from you as from me. Isaac smiled, bringing her hand to his lips. We make a good team, Mrs. Caldwell. The best, she agreed, leaning her head against his shoulder as they watched the sun setting over their land, painting the sky in shades of gold and amber. As twilight deepened into night, Olivia reflected on the journey that had brought them to this moment, from a chance meeting on a dusty street to a life built together, brick by brick, day by day. It had not always been easy. There had been hard times, disagreements, moments of doubt. But through it all, there had been love, steady, enduring, ever deepening with the passing years. She, who had once been called the plain sister, had found a man who saw her true beauty, who cherished her for exactly who she was. And in loving him, in being loved by him, she had discovered a richness of life that no mere physical beauty could ever match. As stars began to appear in the darkening sky, Isaac's arm tightened around her shoulders. Penny for your thoughts, love? Olivia smiled, turning to look at the beloved face that still, after all these years, made her heart beat faster. I was thinking how fortunate we are, how blessed. Indeed we are, he agreed, his amber eyes warm in the gathering darkness. Though I think fortune had little to do with it. We built this life together, choice by choice, day by day. Yes, Olivia said softly. We did. And as his lips met hers in a kiss as tender and profound as their first, Olivia knew with absolute certainty that she had found her true home, not in a place, but in a person. In Isaac's eyes, in his heart, in the life they had created together. It was a beauty that would never fade, a love that would endure through all the seasons of their lives. And in the end, what greater blessing could anyone ask for?